Hello, FleetReadyFam. Welcome to FleetReadyGaming. My name is Sivad. Today we're going to be doing an episode of Sivad Reacts 2. Now, this episode was actually inspired by a member of our community. Their name is Nemanja. Nemanja, thank you so much for recommending this video. We're going to be doing a fresh take on it. I haven't watched it yet, but I am a bit familiar about the topics covered in the video. But yeah, let's take a look, see what we think, see what the content creator covering it, see if we agree with them, disagree, and talk about the issue as a whole. So let's go ahead and check it out. All right, so today's reaction video is to SalteMike Reacts video titled CIG made a big mistake here. Now this video, based off of the thumbnail, seems to be talking about a lot of the griefing mechanics and things that are going on in the game right now, especially surrounding like the Carrack and other ships that have respawn abilities. So let's go ahead and check it out.
All right, this is something that like yesterday people wanted me to check out, and I think it's been going on for a little while now. It is absolutely a problem from what I understand of the situation so far, but I don't know the details. I think I'm going to get a lot of the details here from Agent Sleddy or the leader of Mongrel Squad on an excessive griefing warning. I just
definitely been seeing a lot of warnings on that on Spectrum.
There is this battle that is going on in the Star Citizen community right now of players who want one game and players who want what was, actually said would be in the game. The players who want absolutely no PvP, nothing, want to be left alone to do their own thing, and players who would like to actually play Star Citizen, which will have some PvP involved. So
just a second, we're going to be just as a heads up, we're going to probably be pausing quite a bit throughout this video to make comments on what SalteMike is saying and just in general with the subject at hand. Yeah, SalteMike is right in the sense of that this has been on Spectrum a tidal wave of feedback from those for and against PvP. This happens honestly a couple times a year. It's not the first time that this has happened. Sometimes it's loud, sometimes people let it go by, but it's another one of those loud times at the moment. I'll give more about my personal opinion on it here in a moment. Let's continue to see where SalteMike goes and where Mongrel Squad's video on the topic talks about and hits.
So this is Agent Sleddy's response to CIG's handling of a false excessive griefing claim.
I want to share with you all a concern that I have with CIG's handling of a warning that was given to a fellow pirate, Captain Dirty from Chaos Squad. My subsequent post on Spectrum seeking clarification on where CIG stands on this. Captain Dirty was given a warning for excessive griefing from CIG's customer support service. However, I, Captain Dirty, and at least 186 other people believe that CIG were in the wrong here. The scenario that resulted in this warning is something that we all could encounter as pirates. Carrack boarding against a solo player who has their respawn point set to the medbed of the ship.
Okay, so I just want to start also out with CIG has a rule which is insane to me that you cannot discuss any moderation on their own forum.
Gonna pause right here. Yeah, I've seen that enforced so many times over the years since playing. It does seem very weird. They're very touchy with speaking about dev rules, what's allowed, what's not allowed, to the point to where unless if a dev actually says something on their own, it is kind of up in the air. And that's kind of always been a communication topic that CIG has had not really been all that hands-on with, because I feel that the game is in such constant flux. Things change, things get, added, removed, in terms of ideas and plans, not so much of the things we have tangible in our hands, but that, they're not fully sure yet what is going to be what, because they have ideas and systems coming, soon TM, that will address a lot more of these, what is considered griefing issues. Now, like I said, I haven't seen the clips that they're going to be showing yet. I've seen some of the images on Spectrum. I've read a couple of the, things, threads on Spectrum about it, but it definitely is a fine line. Let's continue and see what else is going on.
I also want to point out
For this player, Carrot,
that Star Citizen is a unfinished game.
Yes,
And
absolutely.
I think both of those things are going to play a huge factor in this.
Absolutely, it does.
as with every piracy attack, resistance is expected. However, what this Carrot Karen decided to do was refuse to take the loss when the pirate crew had taken positive control of the ship. What ensued was 30 plus minutes of trying to negotiate with Carrot Karen, then having to suppress them since they refused any offers.
Right away, bad choice. Bad choice of words.
Yes, I agree.
You, Agent Sleddy, and many other pirates have used broken mechanics with Star Citizen many times to pirate. Name calling is not getting you anywhere in this situation, and all that I can tell is happening is the other side is using broken mechanics to avoid losing. Just take the loss. Just take the L. Why? Right?
That's a very interesting point, because yes, it's and again comes into the whole point of, does this consider griefing? Because you have and at least in this situation, a unstoppable force, the pirates who are seeking to take over, and the unyielding wall that, being the Carrick owner who is standing to the end to get his ship. And speak like SalteMike just had mentioned, both sides. And the pirates a bit longer have had to be creative and deal with unfinished gameplay loops to do what they wish to do in the game, to seek the career path that they wish to follow. And then we have a player here who is using a respawn mechanic that can't be stopped and is refusing to let up because he wants to fight for his property. He doesn't like what's going on, and I'm curious to see if they'll go into any of the negotiations that it's said that they attempted to do with this player. It's interesting.
They have time. They can do this just as well.
Yeah.
And like I said earlier, so just in case people don't understand what's happening here, is player here is the player getting pirated. Person here is the person pirating with the gun. Right? Player here continued to respawn in the medbed over and over and over again. This is a common occurrence, apparently. And it is a pirate tactic to stand over the medbed and continue to suppress them and kill them while they do the piracy. Right? And it falls in this like super gray area of, is that and I don't think it's gray. I think it's black and white, and it's not griefing because both sides are kind of in a tough spot here, right? But I'll let it continue. It's a 12-minute video, so. I'll try to
Gaining
get
their
in
newly
response.
captured prize by killing good old Karen over and over again. Eventually, the Carrick's medbay was full of bodies from the suppression of this persistent player. And due to lag, Captain Dirty was eventually taken down by Karen. However, his crew continued to salvage the Carrick until it was stripped of all value.
When I found out that Google was doing career certificates and they had one in data analytics, I thought it seems.
And then handed back to the owner. If you wish to see the hit, then the link will be in the description of this video. I'll link it with a card at the top right hand side of the screen as well. A post was made on the Star Citizen Reddit with a screenshot showing PES in its glory with piles of Karen's bodies littering the Carrick's medbay. That post has over 2,000 upvotes. Also linked in the description of this video.
Sorry, gonna pause for another second. I noticed a chat comment in SalteMike's chat saying, you know, the Carrick is not should not have respawn because it's not a hospital. And as we know, and as planned for the future, you know, tier 2 beds will not allow for respawn, and only tier 1s will. So that right there, you know, will already be something that will fix itself in the future as the gameplay mechanics come online. It definitely is, like SalteMike said, it's a black and white situation. It's not gray. Both people were doing their legitimate gameplay style. Well, yes, it was extreme. The fact that so many bodies had to pile up, that it became a meme almost, definitely shows that, you know, this defender was not going to let up. They wanted to protect what was theirs, and they were going to use the tools that was available to them to try to do that. Unfortunately, the pirates equally were trying to play their gameplay and assert suppression and dominance over their intended target and prize. It's one of those things that, you know, while griefing definitely exists in Star Citizen, this is my personal opinions. This one isn't one of them. It's unfortunate, yes, for the defender player who is solo and trying to enjoy the game, but this is an MMO, and it's an open world MMO that is intended to have PvP. You know, a lot of people go and talk about the old PvP slider talk that was talked about way in the early days. But, you know, what people need to realize is that PvP slider talk was intended for a different style of game than what we have now. Back when that was talked about, it was before the idea of fully realized planets and, you know, traversable spaces. I mean, yes, we had the ability to walk in our ships and things like that still, and the idea of traversable stations that we could land on. But the game changed. It grew in scope, and a lot of people like that, a lot don't. And, you know, this is just, again, my own opinion. Feel free to disagree. Feel free to comment on it. It's one of the things that, to me, drives me towards the game, because it allows for these crazy, epic sandbox style emergent gameplay opportunities that you don't see in other games. And to me, that's amazing. Even if it sucks at times, even if I lose a day's worth of work or even more. You know, I'm an EVE Online player. I used to be. I played back in 2007 until about 2011. And I can't tell you how many times I have been set back in that game for sometimes weeks, if not months. And that's a part of the game. It's frustrating. It's hard, but you either learn to love it or you rage quit and leave it. And Star Citizen is equally that style of game. It's not for everyone, you know, and it's the hard truths that this game offers. Now, obviously, as has been mentioned by SalteMike and myself, There are many things that are incomplete with Star Citizen. We're in an alpha. It is incomplete. It is barely playable at times. But with each patch, with each update, we get closer and closer to the final product. We still got a long way to go, don't get me wrong, but those gray areas will shrink and diminish, and what is left will be the things that ultimately you will have to decide whether you can live with or not to play and enjoy this game. Let's continue. There's a lot more to this.
However, Captain Dirty received an email from CIG shortly after warning him of excessive griefing and kindly asked that he refrain from this type of behavior going forward, informing him that future incidents could result in more severe penalties.
That's insane.
It is.
That's insane. That is insane. How is it the player who's respawning, like, I want to be very clear here. It is not the player who's respawning over and over against Fault. That's why this whole carrot Karen thing is ridiculous as well. Mm-hmm. He is using an in-game mechanic just the same way that you could have vaulted for it before. You could have blown up your own ship. All those things were in-game problems that CIG has now suppressed with game dev solutions. Right? We now have another one that needs to be addressed. That's it. Who you should be mad at, who you should be giving a hard time to, is CIG for not fixing the problem. It is not griefing to not get killed by this player. That is spawning over and over again, which you can see in the video. Eventually, he used the insane desync that we have with players in FPS to get behind the pirate and knock him out and then stomp on his head and send him to prison.
Okay.
Right? So at what point is either player the actual problem? No point.
Yeah, I completely agree.
The game is the problem. Right? Should this be a prioritized fix right now? I think you have an argument that it's not. Okay? But what CIG absolutely should not be doing, and this is a complete joke, is sending a warning for excessive griefing when both players are. Both players are excessive griefing at that point, and both players are abusing the game mechanic that shouldn't exist in the game. The only comment that should be made is Star Citizen is an unfinished game, and this is something we'll be looking at in the future.
Exactly.
That is so stupid.
Since the first email didn't tell him why he was getting the warning.
CIG moderation on their website, CIG's comments around griefing and everything have been a joke from the start.
He followed it up to confirm if it had to do with the medbay incident on the Carrack, which they confirmed, and then shut down any further dialogue by stating that they consider the incident closed and may not respond to further inquiries. If you wish to learn more, Captain Dirty made a response video to the emails.
And again, they just close it. No response, nothing, no conversation. Done.
Yeah, no room
in this
for
scenario
growth.
Explaining his side of the story. Link in the description and in the card in the top right corner. This is a re-upload since the original video had audio issues, and after seeing my Spectrum posts had been deleted, he had also decided to sanitize the email screenshots so as not to display the CIG customer service employee's name that he was speaking to, in case he was unintentionally violating CIG's terms of service again. When I found out that Captain Dirty received a warning from CIG, I was furious and very concerned. I had watched the video of the whole incident, and what I observed was a player who couldn't take a loss and was just doing whatever they could to disrupt the pirates from being able to profit from their captured pride.
I love Letty, but Letty is biased as fuck in this scenario. Like, biased as fuck.
Yeah.
Okay? And that's okay. It's expected, right?
It is.
This is all you do. This is your life. You know, this is your lifeblood of the game for you. I understand being biased. I'm biased in another scenario in the game. Incredibly biased. In something else that I've been complaining about lately. I'm not putting him down for that, you know? I'm not saying this is his life in real life. I'm saying this is his Star Citizen life, right? but you got to recognize that as well.
Considering the
again, the guy
exposure
was
that the
tenacious, the
screenshot had
defender was
received on the
tenacious.
Star Citizen Reddit, it is highly likely that CIG's customer service caught wind of what happened through some belligerent,
Why should
militant,
they take the loss?
anti-PvP members of the Star Citizen community
They don't have to.
who made disingenuous claims against Captain
He
Dirty and
actually
what
ended up
happened.
winning.
And CIG acted on it. If you watch the video of the hit, then you would be hard-pressed to disagree that CIG only acted on the screenshot, because it sure as hell looks like they didn't watch the video at all, which led to my Spectrum post. Comply or die. For gameplay doesn't work if you're going to give out warnings to players when they enforce the consequences of not complying, which I would link to you for you to read in your own time, except I can't because it was deleted from Spectrum because posting screenshots and videos that include the details of player support interactions and discussing those is against CIG's standard of conduct, as well as the unkind replies against staff members throughout the discussion. However, as a positive, they did say that they passed on this feedback towards their relevant teams. Fortunately, one of my
Anything you discuss moderation at all, it instantly gets deleted. If you even say the word CIG mods, deleted. They are
Unless if
insanely
it's a positive.
defensive, and
Unless
it
if
is
it's positive.
bad precedent. There can be no, like, I have a lot of issues with the fact that you can be completely aggressive to anybody who has a negative opinion about the state of the game, the state of a feature, whatever, and that just lives on the website forever. But the moment that you have a negative opinion towards somebody who's saying something positive or whatever, or like don't agree with somebody in that nature, bang, you're getting hit. Like, you know, there's a perfect example of J3PT on the website, insanely aggressive towards anyone who has a negative opinion about something, right? I rarely ever see him get moderated, ever. But you can't comment on those things on the website where the moderation is, because they'll immediately delete you, delete the thread, everything.
members saved a
It's
copy of the
tough, it
HTML
really is.
page, and another was
I've had
able to
some
provide
interesting
screenshots and
conversations
videos
with,
of the
that
replies to
person.
the post. There's personal information on the HTML page, which I've omitted from the video here. However, I won't be sharing it outside of the video. What I will do is post screenshots of the OP and the video of the replies on Mungle Squad's public guilded server for
Notion has been the centerpiece of my workflow. It's quite literally an
Commercial
extension
time
of my brain.
and skip.
you to see for yourself, which contain the latest replies and statistics prior to my post being deleted. Once again, links in the description below. The crux of my Spectrum post was highlighting all of the evidence associated with the incident, providing counter arguments to the
Okay,
accusation of excessive griefing against Captain Dirty by pointing out that Karen had other options that they could have explored to get out of the encounter, pointing out that CIG had now set a dangerous precedent with customer service could be manipulated to be weaponized against players now that they are given out a warning with an easy to replicate scenario. How the handling of the incident brings into question where future gameplay could be interpreted as excessive griefing.
Bro, I don't know what's happening right now. I did everything that I was told to fix this YouTube buffering issue, and I don't know why
due to the nature of
it's being
it
so
being
weird.
disruptive, and then posing to CIG a question: when does an individual's responsibility for the gameplay cease to be their responsibility and become CIG's? Whilst there are a few detractors trying to push ridiculous counterpoints, the majority were in agreement that CIG had made a mistake with how they handled this incident, with many players offering in-game solutions to prevent this scenario from being possible again. I was never expecting a reply from CIG with regards to the question, but
Like, that's the part that I'm not liking so far about this video. Is so far we've touched on about 5 seconds of what the actual problem is, which is the fact that the player could respawn consistently over and over again. I think if you are going to, you cannot give that player a hard time, because all he's using is a situation
tools.
in the game
Yes.
to, you know, ensure that he wins, which is, you know,
Infinite
I've seen
respawns.
Mongrel Squad drop boxes through a ship to ensure that it is marked, right? You know, using a bug to,
Perma-tag a ship.
you know, track players, things like that. Should that be allowed? Probably not. But right,
Yeah.
like, it allows for the the existence of piracy, like you earned it. Like I look at that as a good, like, hey, good on you, Mongrel Squad. That's awesome. You know,
learned a
how can
tool that you can
CIG
use
turn
at
that
the-
into an
in the
actual
meantime.
thing where we can, you know, put something on a ship and track you, and maybe people on the ship can look for the tracker and then take it
Yep,
off and
tracker
get rid
missiles,
of it, right?
yep.
And then
They're planned.
so in this scenario, it's just like, okay, this is obviously something that players should not have been allowed to do, right? It is obviously a scenario where that player should not be allowed to respawn 30 fucking times, right? Like, there's no way that should be allowed to happen. That's the issue here. There's no way that should have been allowed to happen. Period.
But
End of story. And the player should be able to defend themselves
Yep.
against the other player doing that. Both are doing exactly what they should do to ensure their survival.
absolutely.
Right? The player who's shooting him over and over again never should be getting a warning. The player who's doing it, who's respawning over and over again, should not be called Carrick Karen.
No, they shouldn't.
Right?
Yeah, I completely agree.
It's
It's
the issue is the medbed.
yeah. That it's feature incomplete. There's
But I
supposed
felt
to be
compelled
supplies
to
for
bring
it in the
this up,
feature.
not only before CIG, but the community as well. Then the working week started for CIG and the thread was deleted, which is infuriating, disheartening, and concerning. I regularly check Spectrum to see what the community is talking about, if there's any new information, and also to
the other
voice
problem
my
is the
opinions,
moderation.
ideas, observations,
Yeah.
and experiences. I've had threads locked, modified, and deleted before. I'm also one of the few people who has had a thread unlocked after a moderation review. But the reason why I feel infuriated, disheartened, and concerned is because to me the deletion reinforces a dangerous precedence where CIG isn't
Very
doing
dangerous.
their due diligence
is.
when it comes to claims about excessive griefing. And if you try and bring it up in front of the community, they're going to shut you up. It's censorship. CIG, you've essentially said you can give us feedback, but it must be in the way that we want it to be
Yep.
given. If we don't like what you have to say, then we'll silence you. Well, that's
Yep.
not how feedback works. Not
Nope.
the type that encourages growth. That is a cold, corporate approach to handling customer dissatisfaction, far removed from the roots of where CIG came from. And that isn't the type of company that I want to support. Tumblr from Ramming Department made a similar thread after mine was deleted, broaching the topic of the term of service violation whilst carefully tiptoeing around ensuring not to mention customer service. It's also linked in the description. Head over there, have a read, comment if you want, and upvote
Yeah,
if you agree. This
I
entire
scanned that one
situation had me
before.
reanalyzing my stance on CIG, Star Citizen, and doing content creation of myself and Mongrel Squad playing Star Citizen. I've always stated that there are two goals for Mongrel Squad when posting Star Citizen content: promote Mongrel Squad and promote piracy gameplay in Star Citizen. And I know we've been succeeding at both. We're not a huge channel, but we are growing, and I know our videos have inspired players to buy into Star
Absolutely.
Citizen so that
Yeah.
they could raise the black and play the game as Space Pirate, even in its unfinished state. What CIG gets out of our videos doesn't correlate to what we get out of CIG. We paid to play their game, and they give us permission to show off their game and monetize the content. But if you read the terms of service, that can be revoked at any time. I was okay with this because I felt that our contributions would help achieve the vision to build the best damn space sim ever. I was okay with supporting the independent studio who was bucking the trend of chasing profit by not compromising and pushing the boundaries of what was possible for a video game.
Oh yeah, they're not chasing profit at all.
As I said before, CIG took a cold
Never.
corporate approach to handling customer dissatisfaction, and I don't like where I'm seeing this going. For the better part of today, I've been wrestling with my conscience on what I should do next. I feel partially responsible because I encourage people to get out there and do piracy. Videos that we publish encourage people to buy into Star Citizen. I feel like what I've done is led them into a trap where they have no clue of what we can and can't do. And the best we can hope for is that we don't get banned playing the game as pirates. And I don't like that.
So I saw somebody post like hashtag ad for his YouTube channel. This is not a hashtag ad for his YouTube channel that he was doing there. He was going, I have made videos. I have excited people about piracy, and he absolutely has that. If you guys have not, I'll hashtag ad for him. If you have not seen that, the Mongrel Squad YouTube channel, it is like some binge-worthy type
It is.
content as far as Star Citizen and what player interactions can be like.
Yeah.
I've definitely binged the YouTube channel plenty of times. and they've inspired me to want to do things like piracy, right? It's
Okay.
good.
It is.
The problem here is that he's saying I made these things going this is what's possible, this is what we can do, and CIG's kind of got our back here in the sense of you can do piracy in the game. They've always said that you can do piracy in the game. Xylo coming out saying we want you to have a in-game solution for your in-game problems, essentially, right? So if you're getting pirated, fight back, right? That's what they want to see. And then this
We have
happens.
this, yeah,
So
we have this
now
situation.
everything that he's said means nothing, is essentially. Anything about piracy means nothing at this point.
Not necessarily that means nothing. It shows that in this current state of the game, that the excessive force, which, like SalteMike has said, and like how I have said, is completely reasonable because it's within the scope of what is in the game, and had like both, this Agans, as well as SalteMike have mentioned. Lost my train of thought. Essentially, CIG, it's just like they said, CIG has always been one to say, take it into the hands of yourself to fight and defend for control of whatever you're fighting and or defending. And it's unfortunate because at the end of the day, just like SalteMike said, it really is the med bed. When a player has infinite respawns and is going to defend venomously what is theirs, and you have a group of people who are doing the opposite, it's going to grow and grow and grow until it's something that is so beyond what it originally is that, of course, this became such drama. It makes sense. It really does show the technical flaw of CIG's respawn system right now. Yes, that will change in the future, as others have mentioned with, tier 1 beds and whatnot, as well as that, it has been mentioned that respawn beds, just medical beds in general, will have supplies of their own to be able to function in general. And the fact that they don't have that now and they just work because they want the mechanics to be tested and implemented it as tier 0 is it's tough. It is tough, but I don't think it's griefing. I think it was two sides that were fighting for what they wanted, and at some point, whether it was the defender who posted it or someone else who saw the clips of what was going on and deemed it as griefing and started the drama, it's tough. It really is tough. My heart goes out to the people who wish to just play the game, play it the way they want to. But at the end of the day, it's an MMO. It's a sandbox, and especially with 3.18 being the way it is now, it's only going to happen more. And CIG really needs to hunker down and get the additional features and updates out to further stabilize the dichotomy of the game. It's you give us tools of any sort, whether if it's a bug or intentional, and we as the player will exploit them and use them to our gain in any way possible because it's there. It makes the game easier for us. It gives us the tactical advantage, whatever the reason. And let's continue.
CIG has stated piracy is something that you can do in this game. Never articulated what piracy entails beyond their Galactopedia post, but that doesn't explain how it's supposed to work in game. Everything you have
No, it
seen us do
doesn't.
on this channel has been from analysing what CIG has added to the game, theory crafting methods on how we can leverage what we have to pursue what we want, and an extensive testing and revisiting of ideas based on results. We didn't end up in the position we're in by accident. We worked our asses off to get to this point. Now it feels like the rug we're standing on is connected to a rope under tension, ready to be pulled out from under us if we do the wrong thing, irrespective if we
It's
knew it
getting
or
so
not.
bad, it's awesome.
All the while, CIG points at their game and says, you can do piracy in our game.
Hey, Simon.
And here I am making and releasing videos and telling others, come do piracy, it's great. Oblivious to the rope attached to that rug. I enjoy making our videos, sharing our stories, interacting with you all here, in-game and out. However, I was considering gating all of our content behind our public server and keeping it all internal. No paywall, just no advertisement for CIG either. Just so I wouldn't have this weight hanging over me. That content that I am making and distributing isn't putting players into a position where they give CIG their money and they get stitched up by CIG for doing something they didn't know was wrong. That wouldn't achieve anything. Star Citizen has turned into a behemoth. And the next lot...
Yeah, like, I understand his frustration here. Is he's
Definitely.
exciting people for piracy, other people go out and do it, and then they get banned from the game and lose the money that they put into the account? That's crazy.
content
It
creators
is.
would step up to fill the void that we would leave, and the cycle would continue. Instead, the idea is to maintain the course, continue growing, expand our influence, and not only continue to display piracy gameplay, but also raise our collective voices in the Star Citizen community when
It
CIG
needs
does
to
something
be a
that we don't
discussion.
like. There's a line in the message I received when they deleted my post. It's copy-paste because it's in the previous mod message about another deleted post I'd received. But this line reads, while we hope to avoid doing so, should similar or repeated conduct be observed, more severe penalties may be applied to your account, leading up to a temporary suspension. The context for that line has to do with Spectrum posts for now. How long until it becomes the discussion of any moderation or customer service interaction anywhere? Could they enforce it? Well, just like Captain Dirty's incident with Karen and their medbed, only when they want to, using what evidence they could be bothered to collect. What could CIG do to help change my point of view of
What? YouTube,
them now?
why?
This is hard for me to say because I'm the type of person who expects
This is only YouTube that does this.
actions, not words, to show change. Right now, all
Look at it now.
Mm-hmm.
CIG can do is
This is so ridiculous. I don't understand.
offer words. And I know that their words have to
I don't know why it's doing this. I might switch browsers at this point. I'm assuming it's Chrome.
be carefully chosen so they don't commit themselves to a course of action that
I'm watching at 1080p, guys.
they
I
will have to do at a
900
later
down.
date. But these
It's
are my
not my internet.
suggestions.
Look at this.
That's rough.
I'll just lower the resolution because it's just voice that matters. So we'll just go 720 and see what happens. Someone told me to change a Windows setting in a comment about this, and I did that. And now look, it's just dead. Hardware acceleration's off, everything. Yep. Just dead. Yeah, I'm literally streaming with no issues at all. It's not my internet.
That's rough.
Yep. I don't know. Video stats. It just says network activity is 0. Right? Like, it just makes
We're
no
gonna
sense.
fast forward.
Made to them by CIG moderation if they're in violation of the rules. If that's too much work, perhaps a sin bin for posts that give the opportunity to the OP to adjust them to be compliant with CIG's rules for posting on Spectrum. And I'd also like to see the word griefer given the same treatment as the word care bear by CIG moderation to breed a
Yep.
healthier environment for discussions on topics that some players are vehemently against. For in-game mechanics, I'd like to see mechanics that have the potential to be abused in a way that could result in a community member being put
glad we
into a
kept
position of being
watching, 'cause
accused
that's a
of
really
breaking terms of
interesting
service and be given a
comment.
higher priority for being
is
addressed
interesting.
by developers, i.e. infinite spawns on ship med beds. And if they can't be addressed in the short term, communicate what constitutes abuse of that mechanic and what doesn't until the functionality in game lines up with your intent. These aren't demands.
Yes,
They're not
that's
expectations.
my point of view.
They're nice to have. I think would go a long way to addressing the concerns that I and potentially many others have.
Yes, absolutely.
Look at the buffer health. It eventually
Communication.
just goes down, but maybe that's because the video was ending. Yeah, Anybody watching this react on YouTube have any ideas of what's going on there? I have perfectly clean internet, yet this is going to happen all day probably. But as far as the video goes, I think the ending is what matters the most. Is piracy and medical gameplay does not look at your intent whatsoever.
Nope.
It is not the intent of the way the game is supposed to be played right now. None of it exists the way it's supposed to be played right now. So why are we moderating it as if the current game even remotely represents what you're trying to deliver? And we're moderating players who are just trying to play the game. The guy who's trying not to die and the guy who is trying to win. Neither of them are at fault. It's your fault for not finishing the game. It's your fault for not prioritizing this. And in the end, it's really nobody's fault because they probably shouldn't prioritize those things. So, yeah.
It's a pickle of a
Both
situation.
players are at fault here. If you cannot see that, it's insane. Both players are using
the system's at hand.
game mechanics that should not exist, and the solution to the problem is fixing that. I think it's very clear that medbeds should have limited respawns that you can refresh by adding some sort of consumable, medical supplies to an inventory cabinet there, whatever, right? Simple as that. Maybe have medical supplies in your cargo hold that you can move through a thing. It's very
It's a great
simple
idea because then pirates can remove them
for free 30 times
to achieve their victory even quicker.
Just shouldn't be allowed. And then the other player should not be allowed to just stand over a medbed and shoot somebody 30 times.
Yes.
Right? So obviously they're both problematic. And that's what I think we need to see, is that both things are problematic, and the solution is a game development solution, not a content moderation solution from CIG at all. It is the only solution to this problem is fixing the game, not moderating players playing your crappy game right now. I can't believe we are getting mad at the way players are playing your crappy game right now. That's not the solution.
No.
Period.
And silencing players isn't either. It's
You should be happy people are playing this garbage. God bless. God bless that people are still playing this game, right? You should be so happy. You should be so happy people still love this game.
Yeah.
Both players were playing the game most likely because they love it.
Yep.
And one of them got yelled at for playing the game. It's insane.
Yeah.
It's insane.
All right, and that was the end of the video. So, final thoughts, opinions. Oops, sorry about that. So, personally, I think that, like I've mentioned, I think both players were in the right. What went wrong is that someone, I don't know who, went out of their way to try to make this a bigger issue with customer support. And, customer support had to come down with a difficult decision. And unfortunately, I think it was the wrong decision, just like SalteMike said. These are gameplay mechanics that are in the game and that are actively encouraged by CIG. We've seen throughout multiple posts from many devs that the game is supposed to be fight and defend, and just because in this particular situation that the defender had infinite lives does not negate or create griefing. It creates a impossible situation. the pirate was obviously prepared. They had enough ammunition to continue this onslaught on. As frustrating as I'm sure it was for the defender. But it is intended. It was intended. It was thought out. It was part of their attempt to take the prize, which is valid gameplay. And just as it's valid gameplay for the player, the defender, to try to defend their ship. And granted, they had a massive advantage, which ultimately led to their victory over the defender who was watching over them. You know, it's an impossible situation in this scenario, and at the end of the day, just like SalteMike said, CIG messed up big with lashing out and scolding the player who was just doing what they were intending to do and met this impossible wall that could not be toppled as best as they tried. And my hat's off to the defender who actually managed and persisted and was never going to give up. You know, these are the situations that we dream of for this game, that we will fight tooth and nail to get or to prevent these types of situations. You know, I dream of the day that we're able to make our own bases and be able to assault and defend them. And, you know, if you think this is bad now, you know, in one little ship, imagine an entire base that has tier 1 respawn facilities, and you have 1,000+ member org assaulting the surface of a planet or moon, attempting to disable this location. You know, we don't know yet if we'll be able to destroy buildings. We don't know yet if we'll be able to wipe these things out or just purely infiltrate and disable and then get to a point where we can, you know, then loot and whatnot. The systems in the future will fix these issues. They will address them. And the fact that CIG is moderating and making a poor stance on the systems that they have now and how players are using them is unfortunate to see in this scenario. Hopefully they will address it. Hopefully they will say, "Hey, we messed up. You know, we were just trying to I don't know, you know." But just like Agrins had mentioned, CIG needs to have clear communication. They need to say, "Hey, you know, we support this, but our systems don't fully support what we wish to have the career path of piracy to be." And that's on us, not the player, but on us, since we don't have it fully developed yet. It's a deep topic, it really is. Let me know what you guys think. You know, let me know if you agree, disagree, if you feel if, you know, a particular person was in the right, or if it truly comes down on CIG. I mean, ultimately, that's what I think. It comes down on CIG. Yeah, let me know. I'd love to have that discussion with you and see and hear what your thoughts and opinions are. With that being said, we're going to end the video here. If you liked the content, consider giving the video a thumbs up. It helps spread our channel across the YouTube algorithm and lets people know we exist and doing stuff like this. And if you have any suggestion for videos you'd like to see me react to, please let me know in the comments below. I try to reply to every comment that we get on the channel to really engage with y'all and, you know, have a discussion. And sorry, one second. And Nemanja, again, thank you for, you know, bringing this video to my attention. It was an interesting one to react to, and it's definitely a topic that needs to be discussed. Sorry. And if you think, you know, if if you think we've earned it, consider subscribing to our channel. We're a small channel looking to grow. We're currently at 62 members, looking to grow to 100 by the end of the year. We want to have a big community to have these discussions with, to know what you think, and have a group of people that we can talk about what we enjoy most from this game. With that being said, we're going to end the video here. Thank you so much, guys, for watching, and we'll see you in the next video. Peace.